Right, so today we are looking at Mohammed's massive argument with Danielle's family in what is part 17 of their saga. So last time out, Mohammed found out that Danielle had refiled for an annulment, which once again put him at risk of deportation. To convince Danielle to pull it again, Mohammed drove up to Ohio from Florida and apologized. Danielle accepted the apology and promised that they could be friends again, on the condition that Mohammed apologizes to her family. In today's video, Mohammed and Danielle's family are going to come to a fiery clash. But first, Danielle has to break the news to her family that Mohammed is back in Ohio and that she's considering withdrawing the annulment to allow him to stay in the country, which she is quite rightly anxious about.
Sarah can't stand Mohammed. We fought about it so much that we just drifted apart, and I quit talking to her because I just didn't want to deal with it no more.
No doubt Sarah knows that Mohammed is no longer on the scene, but her hatred of him will have gone nowhere. So there is every chance that when they meet up today, Sarah will tell Danielle that Mohammed is still playing her, and the fighting will continue, especially with how similar it all sounds to last time.
I defended Mohammed, and they could see the stuff that he was doing, and they felt that I was letting him get away with it.
So it's going to be hard for Danielle to defend Mohammed's right to remain in the US and stay friends with her, given Sarah's almost certainly going to be like, I told you so last time, and you're making the exact same mistake all over again. Although that is assuming she's actually going to tell her sister that she plans on pulling the annulment. Well, after a year of not talking, Danielle finally meets up with her sister Sarah, and they're joined by her son Corey and Sarah's husband Paul.
I want to move on, and I'm tired of the drama. I refiled the annulment.
Good.
Immediately, she realizes that telling them she's going to withdraw it isn't going to be easy, so she just doesn't. Whether she did have any intention of actually telling them at this point, I guess we'll never know, but it seems like she's definitely not planning on revealing exactly how she's feeling. Sarah and Paul, however, are not holding back their feelings at all.
You're going to stick with the annulment this time. You're not going to let him come back and...
No.
I think his butt needs to go back where he came from.
Yeah, some more not so subtle xenophobia from Danielle's close ones. That is not good for a number of reasons, is it? Also, she says she's going to stick with it and not let him come back. But isn't that the other half of what she's come here to tell them? That if he apologizes to them, she may very well pull it. The only thing she does reveal about the situation is this.
He is in Ohio. Me and him had a meeting. He said he's going to respect my decision.
Well, that's not true either, is it? I mean, he made it quite clear that he feels like the annulment isn't fair and that he'll fight it if it goes to court. He even told her that he went to go see a lawyer about it. Understandably, they're suspicious about why Mohammed's in town, probably in part because they're aware that Mohammed isn't being entirely honest with Danielle, but also because they probably suspect that Danielle isn't being entirely honest with them.
He's a manipulator.
It's like a little rat.
1 minute she'll say, I'm gonna stick with the annulment, and then, boom, it happens again.
So at least it isn't going to come as a surprise to them. They know how easily Danielle is persuaded and how easy it is for Mohammed to use that to his advantage, so they tell her that anything he says is just sweet talk. And in response, Danielle tries reassuring them that she's not falling for any of it.
I said, if you really want to be here, then you need to show people that you're not scamming and you're not using people. You need to do something.
Honestly, it is just way too late for all of that, isn't it? Like, there is nothing this man can do to convince her family that he didn't use her for a green card. All he can really do now is apologize and just hope that they want to put it behind them so badly that they just accept Danielle's decision to pull the annulment and move on.
When you meet with him, to talk to him.
I don't know if I'd sit down with him.
Don't bring me into it. I ain't meeting up with anyone.
I love how Corey's acting like it's his decision to make. Like you couldn't meet up with him even if you wanted to because he has a restraining order against you because you threatened to throw him out of a window. Anyway, thankfully for Danielle, after a long think, Sarah comes around to the idea of meeting Mohammed face to face.
I could. If it would help you move on, then I would.
Yeah, I just want people to listen to him and him apologize to my family.
And it doesn't take long for that opportunity to arise, because it turns out Mohammed is waiting around the corner in his car, and so Danielle gathers them in the car park out back. And although Sarah seemed potentially willing to forgive and forget for the sake of Danielle, her husband Paul does not.
I'm gonna call him out on anything he says. I will call him out on.
I might just have to walk away.
It's always nice to approach peace talks like this, isn't it? I mean, I get that they've got a lot of anger and frustration built up against this guy, but the fact that the scene is building up like a Wild West duel gives me little hope that this scene is going to end peacefully.
Okay, I'm sorry if I did anything that you guys did not like. I wasn't like trying to hurt anybody.
I mean, it's kind of a good start, but he doesn't sound very sincere, does he? Like, it's never good when someone's apologizing, but it doesn't sound like they know what they're apologizing for. Well, in response, Sarah straight up asks him why, if he's so sorry, did he use Danielle to come to the US in the first place?
I did not use her. You guys did not give me any chance.
Wait a minute.
We gave you plenty of
Let me finish this. What you know about me is not the truth.
Well, maybe just not the whole truth. Sarah then says actions speak louder than words. Mohammed says what actions? And Sarah says the whole going out of state with other women as a married man thing. It's hard to tell if she meant during the relationship, in which case obviously that's completely unacceptable behaviour from Mohammed, or if she meant like the whole Louisa situation, which did technically happen whilst Mohammed and Danielle were still married, but it was very much after the relationship had ended in every other sense. But either way, Mohammed does not defend himself well here at all.
These women you are talking about, there are only two, okay? And one of them...
But too many. You're married. There should only have been one.
I'm not a perfect person. She's not perfect. We both did mistakes.
Yeah, basically accepting the cheating charge and saying I'm not perfect but neither is she is a terrible defense. I mean, just one other woman would have been grounds for divorce and enough to make him look bad. How did he think doubling it would go?
What about when you came back to get her to drop the first annulment?
She did it. She signed for it.
And what'd you give her in return? Grief? Heartache?
She gave me even like worse than that.
And this is where I think Danielle's family might not have the full picture. On top of all of the horrendous behaviour that we've seen on camera, from stalking to harassment to blackmail, there's unsurprisingly been even more going on off camera that we haven't heard about before. For example, apparently during their relationship, Danielle had been texting, emailing and DMing other men, telling them she loves them, and apparently Mohammed has receipts to prove it. And whilst he's reeling all this info off, rather than denying it, Danielle just stares into the ground looking guilty as ever.
I did nothing to you.
Oh, you didn't do nothing to know.
When you hurt her family. So therefore
Right,
you did it to us.
It's her mistake.
Listen, I can completely understand how Mohammed feels, but he is prioritizing his ego over his right to stay in the US here. Swallowing his pride and just accepting the blame could have led to them all getting over it, but now it has gone too far, and Sarah and Paul are going to be pushing for that annulment as hard as ever.
If she wins the annulment in her favor over a fraudulent marriage, are you going back?
Going back like my country?
Yeah.
That will make you happy?
Oh, it would make me over the moon happy.
Well, this hasn't gone very well, has it? Who could have predicted this? To be honest, I think that Mohammed was really naive in thinking that detailing Danielle's flaws would redeem him. And given he said he'd do anything to remain in the country, why he didn't just take it on the chin to get over this hurdle, I'll never know. Now all he's done is leave a fresh taste of blood in the mouths of Danielle's family.
Nothing's changed.
I hope our justice system knows what's right and sends his ass packing.
So, unsurprisingly, thanks to Mohammed's stubbornness and Sarah and Paul's hatred for everything he's caused, all this endeavour has done is exacerbate the situation. But weirdly, despite acknowledging how it turned out, Danielle is holding on to a perplexing amount of optimism.
I do hope he meant what he said, that he's gonna keep his promises and us work through our issues and talk civil. We'll see what happens.
It's so bizarre. Her sister is back to absolutely hating Mohammed and wanting him gone. So she's once again gonna have to either side with Mohammed and lose her, or side with her and lose Mohammed. But she doesn't seem fazed by that at all. I think it's just a case of ignorance is bliss. She's almost benefiting from being too slow to keep up with what just happened. Although it doesn't seem long before she's gonna have to come face to face with the situation. Because next up, she discovers something about Mohammed that sends her through the roof and sets her off on yet another absolutely unhinged tirade. So make sure you're subscribed down below if you don't want to miss it. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.